call the meeting to order for the Selkirk Fire Service Joint Powers Board at 2:08 p.m. on Thursday, January 27th. I'm Jennifer Stapleton, City Administrator for Sandpoint and function as the Executive Director for this board. And present, we have Kate McAllister representing City of Sandpoint. We have Will Gadsby representing Westside Fire District, and Mark Croft representing Sago Fire District. And present from staffing, we have our chief, Gavin Gilcrease, Sarah Linz, our finance director at City of Sandpoint, and Tammy providing support. Chief, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, do you have any announcements for today, this meeting?
Nothing from West Side.
Okay.
Nothing to say.
Okay. Staff, I don't think we have any announcements unless Chief, you've got something that's outside of Chief's report. Okay. Meeting minutes from our December 16th meeting. Assuming you've all had a chance to review those, do we have a motion on the minutes?
So,
Okay.
okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 16th JPA meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Chief, you are up.
How's everybody doing today? Good. All right. So I've had a couple of the commission meetings prior to coming back to this one, but we're back. We've made it back safe.
Good.
Yeah, that was interesting. Basically, all the bad parts of the weather in the Bible that we could have found was on top of us like the whole way back. So, but that's all right. We're back. We're safe and loving life. So the chief report for January, we're right in the middle of our company officer exam. We started with 8 candidates, and I'm pleased to announce that all 8 of them scored high enough to continue on in the process. So they're all eligible for that spot, for the one spot that we do have open. We have one final, we did it on Monday and Tuesday of this week, and we have one final evolution next Monday, and that is simply the interview panel is the only portion that's left. The scores are very tight. They're a lot tighter than I thought they were going to be, but I don't know, that just speaks volumes to how hard these folks have been studying and, preparing themselves for this position. So it makes me feel good to see that the scores are that tight. Hopefully, depending on payroll and how that works out, we should have that new officer position filled by the end of next week. I just got to get with finance and payroll and make sure we're good, but I think that's us. I think we should be ready. On the first, I think it was like the 3rd or the 6th, I can't remember off the top of my head, and I should have wrote it down, but we did have an officers meeting for all the officers in the department. We basically had that meeting just to have a candid conversation about some of the expectations about our new processes and how to execute those. We've kind of been in this fluid state, pardon me, getting those going, because as we continue down that path, we're finding new ways to do it and make it even more efficient. So just making sure we had a lot of information going out at one time about 2 or 3 different processes. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page. We also were, looking forward to kind of doing a department-wide meeting in February, so that way the entire department can be on the same page. Most of the officer stuff was the administrative side of it and how we need to do, and had to do with procurement and doing purchase order requests and how to do maintenance requests, things like that, making sure we're on the same page. Getting back to, we talked about the officer's exam. We went over how to handle grant opportunities and the management of those grants if we chose to apply for them. We went over a lot of communications and just the status of a bunch of various projects that have been going on. kind of where we are. A lot of them looked like they were, hanging out in the breeze, but we got some good updates on that stuff. Some stuff we put on hold because it's not relevant right now that we do it. We got some other things that, we prioritized ahead of that. We also covered inspections and a new inspection program that we're looking at doing and integrating with the city. We did begin that, and that's got a little more work to do. We had the information that we had. Once we got into it, we found out we needed some more information. So it wasn't, it didn't kind of go off without a hitch, but we're not deterred by that. We're going to keep going. Looking forward, we're just finishing up we're on the downhill side, rather, of strategic planning with the city of Sandpoint, and the department, Selkirk, is going to begin to really ramp up our strategic planning. We've had some of the background stuff going on, but now it's time to start getting everything into full motion so we can get our strategic plan up and running. Some of the things that we're going to be doing is the standard operating guidelines, the review and update on those rules and regs. Our records management system is about a year and a half. I want to say it's about a year and a half old now. We're into it. So we want to go in there and see how that's working for us. Are we getting the information into it so we're able to pull the data out of it that we're looking for? And also we're talking about collaboration opportunities with other agencies in the area, just to kind of enhance our service delivery model, as well as maybe bolster up our training and some of our interagency assistance, just for like the greater good, the common cause, right? We're trying to all get better. How can we help one agency and how can they help another? Just getting to that table and sitting down and having that conversation. So the folks that we have talked with are very interested in doing it, and the ones that aren't, but it's already been made very clear to those folks, from those of us that want to do this and make it better, that it's not a gripe session. We don't, if that's what you're coming there to do, then we didn't, you're uninvite yourself till you're ready to, grow up and come sit at the table. So it's working, but we're hoping to have that meeting first part of next month, our first one. So that's pretty much it for the chief's report.
Any questions, board members?
Nice to hear about the progress. Keep going.
We're getting there. A little bit of, eat the elephant one bite at a time, right? There we go.
That's right.
All right, Sarah, I'll hand it over to you for the financial report. And based on feedback that we got last month, I know we've got updated version and look to this. So again, this can continue to be a work in progress, but we can continue to have discussions.
So this one didn't change much on, it still includes a budget, but I did add a percentage of remaining, or so should be percent of spent, I'm sorry. Hopefully that's not what's remaining. It's not 15%. I'm like, no. Anyway, so there we go. There's a work in progress right there. Change in wording. Anyways, you can see the month, the October, November, and December with total expended. This is by the fire station, has salaries, overtime, and then benefits broken out as well. There isn't anything, in my opinion, to note, unless the fire chief wants to note anything besides the just the west side. At this point, we have paid 3 months. However, there is a caveat on that. We have 26 pay periods in the year, so that always falls with a little bit of a different. It's not a 25% of the year is done at this point.
Right.
With how many pay periods have been done, and then also with the accruals back, I wouldn't calculate it as 21% of the year is gone, or is of the pay periods are done. So the only one that's over that at this point is West Side at 23%, and we talked a little bit about that. I don't know if you want to expound on that at all.
It basically came down to when we decided to bump those salaries up to meet everyone else. We're still, even though we do have the 26, I still base it on 25 because it's easy math and I don't have to do math that has like no numbers in it. So when I look at it, if it's something that looks like it's going to be cresting over that 25, that's when I start to show concern. If that number, the 23 23.11%. If it was 33.11, I would be concerned. But right now, I know we had the money in the budget to do that, so I'm not worried about it. We did that after we started the budget, so
Yep.
it's not really reflecting it right now.
Yep, so from my concern, or standpoint too, and again, that's besides that one, that, and then we talked about that, and it was right in line with what we expected after the budget was set, so. Going to the next, the JPA Administration Expenses. This is the one that we talked last time to add the budget column in here, so in here you can see the budget column has been added with the percent spent. I got the right wording in that one. Anyway, so when this was being set back in, was it April through June, sometime last year, it was a lot of these expenses were, we took a guess at what they were going to be. So in some cases they're under, some cases they're over. And overall, we're at 16% spent. Also note that some of these expenses come in one time a year. So like down on the third from the bottom, that public safety Motorola expense, that's the annual amount that is paid for that Motorola contract, or and it's actually not Motorola, that's the watch.
This is the dispatch.
Yes, whatever.
Radio user fee or something like that.
Yes, yes. And so that one there, obviously that would be a annual expense. So that does throw things off percentage wise a little bit, but overall, when you're taking you knowing that you're going to have some expenses that are like that at the beginning, some are at the end. When you take an overall 16%, it's looking, in my opinion, good. We do have also some the uniform expenses that were not initially talked about running through the JPA administrative expense. So when that does start coming through, at this point is very low, but when we do start seeing those being higher than we expected, and it wasn't factored in, but you will see a decrease on your actual hitting West Side and Sagal expenses of those uniform. They'll be coming through here. So the budget there, so we're really thinking that after about 6 months here, we start this budget process for fiscal year 23, we'll have a good 6 months, and actually 9 months when you take the 3 months of last year, we'll have a good, I would say, a much better look at what we are going to be able to budget for next year. Because again, this was we think it's going to be this amount. We're going to have, in my opinion, I think, especially having Gavin on board, much better idea of what we expect.
Yeah, our mid-year review is it's basically when we're definitely going to be looking. We look at the budget continuously anyway, but the mid-year review, we know that the numbers are going to be a little more solid, a little more trued up. So when we're starting to forecast for what we have for the remainder of the year, plus what we're going to, how we're going to need to do the budgets in the following year, or at least the next fiscal year, I think that mid-year review is probably going to tell us a lot more. It'll be a lot more. I think it'll be more true even what it is now, but I think we're going to have a really good idea of what we're looking at. But I'm not worried about it. I think we're still looking good all the way around. So
yeah.
So we haven't budgeted for the uniform expenses necessarily in here moving forward. Is it anticipated operationally that becomes an annual expense?
The just uniforms in general.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some type of uniforms with just wear and tear and replacement. Currently, we do not have a set amount of uniforms that we budget for every individual. We just kind of do an inspection and figure out what we need, and then we move forward. So I think we're going to look at that. We do need to look at that because it's kind of like PPE. It needs to be on a rotating, at least something that we can forecast into, and just instead of just guessing, because that number is probably going to be able to fluctuate a little bit year to year. So we need to get a better idea of what we're going to be spending on that. But it should, like Sarah said, as it goes through the JPA, each individual district should realize some savings on that, because it's, instead of just like PPE, instead of paying $2,000 for a set, you're paying, the weighted percentage for each one. So that should work. It should save us some.
Otherwise, there's not much to note. This will be distributed. Each of the buildings will be distributed. You'll see them on your next board meeting, these invoices for these things.
So you want to just remind them real quick about the about the month and a half lag.
Oh, yes, yes.
Just so everybody's on the same page with that.
Another thing to keep in mind is that always with us paying and then billing, I mean, obviously our October expenses that are coming in, we don't bill those until we meet now, and then I shouldn't say October, but the month is always a lag. So when you see these, really these are the December ones that we paid now that you're getting at your board meeting now is going to be from last month. So when you're looking at your budgets at Sago and West Side, it's always like, instead of being 3 months like now done, it's going to really be probably 2 more, like, 2 months done, because it's always in a lag. So I think last time you were here, we mentioned that as well, but it's just something to always keep in mind. That does skew things a little bit on that side of it. So you can't take quite a
We can-
1/12 of the
Yeah,
year.
we can see the numbers kind of more real time, on a daily, but when you guys see them at the commission meeting, there's just that little bit of lag because it just has to catch up. What's ready, that's another reason we went to a lot of that stuff is the online bill pay, because it's due, but then we have to wait until the next meeting because it came in 2 days after the meeting. We had to wait till the next meeting to get the check signed and send it in. Then we started looking and they're like, oh, I had late fees. And I was like, no, it's the way government works. Sorry, you gotta wait. But I think we got it settled, so.
So, Chief, I don't know if this got reported out at the individual district meetings. I know at this level, it wouldn't have gone at the council meetings. Included in our fire administration while you were out for a period of time covering, I know Commissioner Gadsby had some questions at the last meeting relative to coverage while you were out. So do you want to address what we did with captains while you were out for coverage, given the
Sure.
fact that we don't have the deputy chief or
No, that's
assistant
fine.
chief at the moment?
What we did was basically the 3 battalion chiefs that were filled in the position. The way I approached it was to have it set up to where they, it would not affect their time while they were on shift. And it was basically going to come out to, it would have been an overtime position. They would work their slot and then take a day off and then work 2 days and take a day off. Those guys took it and basically had it staffed in such a way that they were able to do the fill-in while I was gone, while they were on shift, and to lessen the amount of overtime, just doing it as like a swing up to their, whatever that pay band was. It saved a lot of overtime for them to do it that way. I wasn't expecting them to do that. They just kind of took it and ran. They brought it back to me and said, we can do it like this. I was in kind of a state trying to get there and get back. I didn't really brief Jennifer on that before I left, but I didn't. My thing was, well, if we were saving money doing that rather than paying overtime, we were in the good. But that was, I should have briefed that out. That was actually my issue. But it actually went off really well. Everything kind of got handled pretty much seamlessly. There were a couple of, like we had talked about at our last commission meeting, there were a couple of significant events that happened while I was gone, but we got through it safely and mitigated those out. So there was a fire in a tractor trailer that had jackknife, had a big fuel spill. I think it was on Highway 2, but they were able to keep all that contained. And, they did a good job, and everybody kind of took care of business. So nothing negative on that side. So.
Okay, thank you both. Any other questions on the financials? All right, with that, I guess we are.
Did you have a public comment? Is that okay if I know we don't have public comment on the agenda, but
No, I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just here to kind of hobnob.
We can add that to future agendas if
I'm just an
board
alternate.
desires, so.
I'm just an alternate, but so I'm sitting here.
Yeah, we can put a line on there for public comment if someone does show up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. With that, we will adjourn our meeting for today at 2:28 p.m.